So when we talk about ROI is very fluid in the way people decide to calculate it. And typically in maintenance or anywhere in operations these days in manufacturing, they want a 12-month return on investment. So if I'm going to invest in something that I know takes 3 years to do, you have to break it apart and try to figure it out. So for instance, a TPM implementation or a lean journey, even reliability centered maintenance. And sometimes, in fact, most of the times, the value realization of the payback on a CMMS system can be more than a year and probably will be more than a year. And when you look at that, you go, okay, so when am I going to start seeing the benefit? It's going to be 18 months out. That's great. Now, if I'm going to buy a piece of equipment, man, they want to see ROI right now. I put the machine in. Why isn't it running 100%? There's a lot that goes into that. So I think it's misapplied. I think instead of using ROI and saying I want it back in 12 months, I really feel like people should be using modified internal rate of return because it kind of looks at year on year investment. And then we can talk about percentages that we're going to shoot for that are realistic year over year with an investment for the asset life cycle versus that short term ROI. That's a big culture change in organizations for a lot of them because it could be too complicated. There could be a lot of reasons. I've heard a lot of them. I personally think a lot of them are excuses. When I went through my master's degree, my finance professor told me very clearly, it's not hard to use these numbers. You just have to apply them. And unfortunately, a lot of times when you apply them, you don't like the result you get. They find a calculation that they want to use that they can use arbitrarily to say, okay, if I spend $100,000, how am I going to get $1,000,000 back? Because it's never 1-to-1 on an ROI calculation. It's 10-to-1, 5-to-1. How do I get $500,000 out of this $100,000 spent, and when am I going to get it? And if it's anything more than a year, I don't want to do it. I'm not a big fan of ROI because I feel like that's a carrot and a stick, and you're always going to get the stick.